seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepherdson, and today is Monday, February the 28th, 2022. Now, on Mondays, we've been doing a little thing that you guys have come to be familiar with. It's OTP's Weekend Review with Stu, none other than Steward Baylor Jr. himself, and he is going to be joining us back this week. And honestly, this is probably my favorite podcast that I've ever recorded to date. There's a lot of really good information. We went all around the horn talking about all sorts of stuff, from his injury to you're going to want to listen to it. Trust me. It's a very cool episode. I know it is a little bit long, but there's a lot of information jam-packed into this one for you, so I'm happy you're here. Thank you for listening to On the Pipe Podcast. As always, we are brought to you by our good friends over at Beta Motorcycles. That is right. Beta Motorcycles is the official manufacturer of On the Pipe Podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been a family-owned and operated company since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta Motorcycles are the best-looking bikes on the market and back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models or to find a dealer near you to get yours today. I got my Beta motorcycle, and if you saw me at Big Buck, you saw me riding around the pits on my Beta motorcycle, and that thing is awesome. I put some time on one last year, a 300, just like the one that I got now, and I can't wait to put some more time on this one. But check them out. Beta is an awesome company doing awesome things, and go buy the rig at the next GNCC. Talk to the riders. Talk to team manager Corey Buttrick, talk to the crew over there. A really cool and inviting group of guys, and we kind of talked about it last week on the show as well. So big thanks to Beta Motorcycles, as well as a big thanks to our buddies over at Armored Graphics. Armored Graphics is top of the line, top-notch, top quality graphics for your motorcycle. They also do screen printing. That's where the OTP shirts are made. Been wheeling and dealing a lot of OTP shirts. If you want your very own OTP t-shirt made by Armored Graphics and Armored Screen Printing, let me know. I'll be at Florida and I'll be at Georgia, and I live next to a post office, so if you're not going to make it to the races but you still want a shirt, I appreciate the support very much. Let me know. We'll find a way to make that happen. But nevertheless, check out Armored Graphics at armoredgraphics.com or on the social medias at Armored Graphics. Check out their bikes. You can check out what a kit would look like on your bike. And remember, when you're checking out for your graphics kit, use promo code OTP20, and that is going to save you 20% off of your order. And you're going to be styling and profiling and looking better than the rest with your very own set of Armored Graphics. That is it. So, without further delay, we are going to get to the show. As always, be a friend, tell a friend. If you enjoy On the Pipe Podcast and you enjoy OTP's Weekend Reviews with Stu, and you enjoy dirt bikes, and you enjoy watching racing dirt bikes, or you enjoy racing your dirt bike yourself, be a friend, tell a friend. Let somebody know about OTP. Send them the link to the show. Let them listen, because if you find something interesting enough on here, I'm sure your friends will as well. Especially in this next episode, you're going to have to get a notepad out to write down all the things that you find interesting, because it's going to be a good one. So now, with no further delay, joining us is Stu Baylor. Stu, how's everything going, man? How you feeling?
I guess as good as I could be. Driving myself crazy over here to the point that I'm literally making pit bottles just to sell at the track because I'm bored. Need to figure out a way to make it worth it to go to the races.
You're making pit bottles to sell at the track?
Yeah, I'm just out of boredom, really. But a lot of people always ask us, like, hey, how do you make your pit bottles? What do you do? I was like, well, shit, maybe I'll just make a bunch of them.
Dang, I thought you meant making them for your riders. I didn't know that this was a whole business plan we got going on over there.
Yeah, no, it's more or less just boredom to pass the time because it's something that I can do with one hand while sitting on the couch and pass the days because the days are dragging on dreadfully long at this point.
Man, I can't even imagine that feeling, especially preparing in the off season, everything that happened last year, and then coming into this one. But I mean, kind of walk us through where are you at right now? Where are your thoughts at right now? What's going on?
I mean, really, we don't have a ton of answers to go off of at this point. So, I mean, my thoughts are let's get back on the bike as fast as possible. You know, the good news from what I gathered basically is we probably won't have to have surgery. I meet with a specialist on Thursday, a neurosurgeon in Greenville that's going to tell me a little bit more. The hospital where we were was very vague with details. So I didn't have a lot to go off of there. But this next guy's really solid. So he was referred by Dr. Tanner, who's the ortho guy that most of us racers go and see, and they were in residency together. So he's really good and actually ranked the number one neurosurgeon in the upstate. So we'll see what he has to say after Thursday. But right now it looks like basically where it was broken. It's a really dangerous spot, but it's right there, I guess, near right on an artery. So if it moved at all, I could obviously bleed out quick and never even know it. But since my paralysis was very short, and I haven't seemed to have many lasting effects, I don't think we're going to need any rehab as far as that goes. So, that's definitely a positive in the situation. But the main thing is just seeing kind of where we are. I mean, the last thing that I heard, it could be 6 weeks to 6 months. I could have complications. I may not have complications. It's broken and unstable, but where it's broken was good. Like if it would have been a 4, 5, or 6, I would have been in a halo that they drilled into my head. Luckily it was the 7, and it doesn't move as much when you turn your head or move or anything like that. So obviously you can still move, and I still have to wear my neck brace until the bone is healed. But for a really bad situation, or what could have been a really, really bad situation, literally life and death. It was best case scenario. When I got up and finished, all it took was one bad move, and that bone could have shifted and severed an artery. Or, when we got back, had I not known, I just immediately knew. I knew something was wrong with my spine. I didn't think it was my neck. I thought it was between my shoulders lower, at the bottom of my shoulders, and that was where I was feeling everything. But obviously when you're talking spinal, it's much different than anything else because it affects the way that your nerves are and, how you feel things. So your perception of pain and things vary. So, I know when I hit the ground, like my body went limp. I tried to move. I was kind of laying face down, kind of on my side. And I was like, I had like one arm under me, and I was just kind of face down, but I could breathe, and I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. And then I was trying to move my legs, and I could feel my legs just weren't moving. I was trying to pull my legs back underneath myself because I'm not. It takes a lot for me to not move. Even broken leg, torn ACL, whatever. Like I'm gonna hop right up. I'm gonna at least try. Like I'm not. I've been a very fast crasher my whole life, so I hit the ground and roll, and before I stopped rolling, I'm back on my feet. And this one was different. Like I was fighting to try to get my body to move. My body wouldn't move. And after probably 10 or 12 seconds went past, I was finally able to get my legs under me. And then from there, I got my legs under me, and the mechanic had run down and had just gotten to me. And at that point, it was basically, are you okay? What happened? And I told him I really didn't know. Like, I didn't have an answer. So I just knocked my breath out of me. Like, I wasn't going to go into detail on anything else. And he was asking me questions, and I was like, I got to get on the bike. And that was all that was going through my mind. So, long story short, with all of that, like, there was a million things that could have gone horribly wrong between there and the finish line, or between the finish line and the hospital. And, I came in the finish line, and I was revving to try to get people cleared out so that I could get out of there. Like, I couldn't put my feet down. I knew I couldn't. And I saw that wanted to flip me off and mouth off to me. I think there was actually some posts that I was tagged in that were deleted. But if any of those guys have anything to say after their knowledge of what's going on, I'd be glad to talk to them. I'm sorry, but the stuff that I saw that was written about me, not cool. I'm thoroughly pissed about that. So, that's kind of where I stand on that. But yeah, long story short, I had to get to the hospital. I knew I had to get to the hospital. There was no time to waste. I got an ambulance. I was immediately pushed through to the trauma center. They took me to Spartanburg. I was there for 2 days, and luckily was able to go home at the end of the second day. Obviously there's some other guys there that we raced with that had to stay a little bit longer than that, which sucked. But it was overall, like, really bad situation. Could have gone worse, and I'm lucky to be standing, and lucky to even be alive. At this point, it was very, very close to being detrimental. So it's a lot to think about, but ready to get back out there as soon as we can.
Dude, that is absolutely insane, and that's a lot to unpack right there. And I had no idea about, like you were talking about, the people posting things and flipping you off and saying stuff to you at the finish line.
Yeah, apparently I'm a sore loser was what they were. I'm a sore loser, an asshole that almost ran over children. There was no children standing there, and I was revving because I knew that I could not stop. I was revving to get people cleared out of my way, but people sitting there at the finish line would prefer to be assholes about it than actually realize the situation for what it is. And that's funny. Everything that was said was shortly after deleted. When we released, I had a broken neck, but people are so quick to judge and so fast to jump just because of the situation I'm in. And, it's just, like I said, it really pissed me off. But hey, the crowd was still large and cheering like hell for me to come in ninth place. So I still noticed that there was a lot of people there still cheering me on. Obviously we had our difficulties, and the ones that were there for me, that still goes a long way. I mean, that carries you through the day in the hospital, and when you're laying there and you can't really feel your toes and your fingers, and stuff like that still means a lot. It makes you want to get back out there and go no matter what. So but yeah, it was I saw a little bit there, and just like I said, there's a lot of things. I mean, obviously, the bad part about being who we are and being in the spotlight is you're held to a different standard. I mean, if you say something like, I'll beat somebody's teeth in, that will be held to a different standard than if some redneck down the road says it. Whether we mean it or not, which I obviously mean it. If anybody on Facebook that wanted to run their mouth wants to come and run it, give me 8 weeks when my neck braces off and we'll talk. You know what? Give me 4. I'll be so cooped up and pissed off, I'll probably punch you anyway.
Hey, Stu, tag me in, man. In the meantime, I got you. I got half a leg, but I'll do what I can.
No, I'm gonna call in cost check. That's gonna be my new security detail.
Yeah.
You got a problem with me? Talk to him. But yeah, I mean, people are held to a different standard, and it's easy to judge. Like, I'm just a normal guy. At the end of the day, I'm out here doing what I love, but people are so fast to judge and jump on the bandwagon and just little things. I mean, there was a guy there's multiple people this weekend alone, or last weekend, that were very rude to my wife that's out there selling 514 brand, and somebody said that it was arrogant and cocky that I've got my own clothing and apparel. Like, dude, people on social media asked time and time again. It took me 4 or 5 years before I finally was like, you know what, we'll give it a go. And just because I've got clothing now, I'm cocky. Does that mean that anybody who's ever sold clothes is now cocky? No, it's just we're held to a different standard, and there's so many assholes out there that are ready to jump down your throat. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, like, I've been thinking on that. I'd love to meet a few people at Big Buck. I would love to meet them out back. I mean, it's just ridiculous that we're held to a different standard just because of who we are in the world of racing. They don't treat you like normal people. At the end of the day, if that guy who wants to say that I'm cocky because I've got a clothing brand, or a couple shirts that I'm selling, like, if he thinks I'm cocky, well, I guarantee if he was in the same position, he would definitely not sell T-shirts. Like, of course not. Yeah. Dumbass. I mean, really, like, these guys can't even compare. So they're going to sit there and judge you for whatever. I mean, some days that stuff just gets under my skin. The last couple weeks, or the last 9 days on the couch, I've been like ready to come unwound on somebody. So I'm glad you called. I can vent, and I hope that guy's listening. And the guys who were at the finish line, I hope they're listening too. The guys that mumbled under their breath, the guys that were cussing, and guys that were flipping me off, I hope they're all listening. And I hope the day I get my neck brace off, I can run into one or two of them.
Man, that is absolutely insane, and I hate to hear that, especially in the face of adversity and the way that all that went down, that is the reaction. But, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, like, you are a very polarizing figure in the sport. You have a ton of fans, you have a ton of following, and I think with that comes the opposite side, like these people that you're talking about. And I haven't gone back and looked at the Racer TV broadcast. I don't know if you have either, but was anybody aware of the crash? I mean, I just happened to be there right when it happened, right before the 6 mile marker. I had literally just gotten there. And then after that, I went to the finish line. 'Cause, I mean, by the time I was walking towards you, you were already back on your bike and going, which I couldn't even believe. But did anybody even know what had happened?
No. I mean, they radioed in and they said, hey, Stu's down. He lost some positions, but that was it. Like, I mean, I knew the severity, but I'm not the type of person I just don't have quit in me. Like, I mean, obviously in a situation like that, I'm not, I mean, that could have possibly, taken me from ever being able to see my kid again. So, I'm not saying it's the greatest trait, but, I don't start something that I'm going to stop. I mean, the second I could feel my legs again, I was getting back to my bike. I didn't care. Like, I set out to do a task, and it's just the type of person I am. Like, so, they knew that I crashed, and that was about it. Nobody knew the severity. I knew I broke my wrist the second that I tried to grab my bike. I was like, oh yeah, that's broke. And I knew something in my back was for sure messed up, because, I mean, I've never personally experienced like numbness like that. I hit my head pretty hard when I was about 15, and I lost some feeling to my left arm briefly, and just, normal pinch nerve, whatever. Scary, no big deal. A whole body like that was like terrifying. I mean, the thoughts running through your head, like I watched the video. It was no more than 10 seconds before I got up, but those 10 seconds were the longest 10 seconds ever. Like, just, knowing that I could not, my legs would not pull under my body. My arms would not push my head off the ground. Like, very, very weird. So, I knew it was bad, but I wasn't going to stop and tell anybody. Obviously, I had to get to the finish, and And of course, in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking too, like, hey, maybe it's not broken. Maybe it's just a pinched nerve. Maybe something else happened. I mean, I hit my head. There's a number of things. Like, let's get to the finish. We got 2 weeks before Georgia. I know this wrist is broken, but I've raced on worse than that before. So, you know, I was sitting in the hospital before my scans came back, and I was planning to go racing because my neck stopped hurting at that point for a brief period. I was like, oh yeah, you know, my back's sore, just a little bit now. Like we're good to go. They read the X-rays and you know, I didn't hear anything about my neck, and I was like, or my back, and I was like, okay, sweet, we're good to go. Like, no problems. And then they come in and they're like, we need to transfer him like now. We don't have time for these other scans. He's got a broken C7. We got to get him up to the trauma center. So then that was like a total different, you know, it set in hard whenever they came in. Like I just got done talking to Tanner about, hey, can we throw a screw in this thing and have me ready by Florida? And he's like, hell yeah, I'll clear my day Tuesday. Like we're operating on Tuesday. And I was like, sweet. Yeah, I mean, we had Florida planned and ready to go until they came in with that news.
Man, so. I don't think there's a single person walking this planet that can doubt your toughness after, especially hearing the details of the story. But that is one thing that I wanted to ask you is, if you'd ever felt a sensation like that, or if you'd ever been in a situation like that, and you kind of just alluded to it a minute ago that you felt different. So, I mean, knowing that you had some back pain, was that your immediate thought before you got back on the bike, or did you not realize that until you were riding again? And was there any part of that told you, hey, maybe I shouldn't finish the rest of this? Because I don't know how the hell you rode the rest of that track with a broken freaking wrist and a broken freaking neck.
That's a tough question. So I knew something was wrong the second I hit the ground. And like when it's a very weird thing to try to explain.
But I mean, was it like a concussion thing, or was it immediate neck back, something's up?
No, it was more neck back. Like I was knocked silly, but if I was unconscious, it was for less than a second. I remember the crash. I remember the whole thing. And so it wasn't like a head thing. I knew I slammed my head hard. Like I landed head first and the bike just kind of piled on top of me. And when you're crashing like that, like a crash that can take 1/10 of a second, you can have like 1,000 thoughts. It's this adrenaline rush that, like, unless you've done it, unless you've been in a life and death situation, like your body goes into this fight or flight. They call it fight or flight syndrome, but basically your body takes over, your mind takes over, your body takes over. And a lot of times you'll see guys like walk away from those big crashes. And I've had crashes that big, hell, probably this year. And it just, you know, that one was just different. But you think about so many things as you're hitting the ground. So those, you know, when I got to the bike, I knew my wrist was broken. I knew I had a concussion, and I knew for sure that something was wrong spinally. Like, I think you saw me trying to get on my bike, and I struggled to get my legs over my bike. Like, my legs weren't working properly. And I knew something wasn't right. I didn't know what it was, but it was definitely a feeling that I had never felt before. So I was trying to cope with it and figure out exactly what it was. Like, you know, what truly is going on.
And is this in the moment, or is this in the other 8 miles of riding your freaking dirt bike?
Kind of both. Like I in that moment, I was like, all right, something's obviously wrong. I don't know what it is, but I got to get on my bike. I kept saying it. You know, Chris kept saying, "You okay?" And I just said, I got to go. And in my mind, I mean, I've been taught, like, if you can walk, you get back on that bike. I mean, that's the way that I was taught. Like, you know, I'm not taught like all these soft kids from this generation. Like, I'm taught if you can move, you get your ass on that bike. I don't care if you've got a bone sticking out. If you can get back on that bike, you get back on that bike. We don't lay here. We don't cry. You got the rest of it. I can remember being 7, 8 years old. Dad said, if you want to cry about it going down the trail. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're crying about it, it's going to fog up your goggles. It's going to be tough to see. So, that was the way I was brought up. I mean, if you want to cry about it going down the trail. But if you're going to cry, it's going to fog up your goggles. So you better just not cry, tough it out. That's, that was the way I was raised. And that's, my first thoughts when I hit the ground is get back to that bike. Let's go. We've got to win. It's make it or break it. Every single time I throw a leg over that motorcycle, it's do or die. And that's, that's the way that I am. So, even though that's my mentality, I still think about the other situations. Like I definitely think about the points every time, Craig DeLong came by. I was like, okay, there's another 2 points. Okay. Grant came by, Joseph came by. There's 1 point. There's 1 point. Mike Witowski came by. Okay. There's another point. So I'm thinking about these things. I'm weighing out, okay, my wrist is broken. I've raced with a broken wrist before. We can get that fixed. And then I was thinking more and more on like my body, and I noticed like it was really tough for me to stand up, like abnormally tough, but it wasn't because I was fatigued. It was like just some kind of sharp pain. I couldn't explain it. Something was wrong. And I decided, okay, something's messed up in my back. I think I broke something in my back. And I'm like playing the crash back in my head, like, okay, the bike landed on me, maybe it smashed something in my spine. I don't know. Like, obviously I can move, so we're good, but I lost feeling for a brief time. So when I got back, as I kept riding, it started getting worse feeling. And honestly, we kind of come almost right across from the finish line, a mile to go. And I got to that point and I was like, shit, I don't think I can make it to the finish. But at that point, I've suffered 7 miles. I don't care if I don't think I can make it or not. If I got to crawl, I'm making it to that finish line at that point. So I kept going. I definitely backed it way, way down in those last few miles. But, I crossed the finish line and I knew something was wrong. So I got straight back. I said, I need an ambulance right now. I staggered. I kind of fell off my bike and I staggered over to my camper. And I couldn't straighten my body, like from my waist up wouldn't straighten from my hips, and my knee and my knees wouldn't straighten all the way. Like I walked hunched over and like I couldn't physically straighten it. And I knew something was wrong. Like something was definitely wrong. And they got there and I was sitting on the steps and my surgeon was there and I told him what was going on. And like, I'm not one to get really, really worked up on an injury. Like, yeah, it pisses me off, but it hurts. It is what it is. Screaming about it doesn't solve anything. So, for me, like I said, hey, my wrist is definitely broken. And, I picked my arm up. It's a little bit offset. You can see like, okay, that's broke. I said, I've got a concussion. I had bruises around my head. You can see that I obviously hit my head. I said, but I'm coherent. I remembered the whole crash. Basically, I answered all the questions that I knew that they were going to ask. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, before they get here, help me get this gear off because they're not cutting my knee braces off. I've only got one pair. Let's get all this stuff off. And then we tried to do my jersey, but I couldn't lift my arms up. So we had to cut the jersey off. And then the medics came over. They asked what was going on. I told them the same thing. Like, I've got a mild concussion. I know for sure I broke my wrist and I did something in my back and between my shoulder blades. There's this odd sensation. I don't know what it is. And at that point, my mechanic got there, Corey McDonald, who actually broke his neck at that same event, 2011. So he said, what's it feel like? Is it like burning? And I was like, yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like a 9-volt batteries in my spine. And he's like, yeah, you broke something in there. And I couldn't describe it. Like, it's just, that was the only thing I could think of. Like, it's like a shocking, sizzling, it's weird. So they were about to take my helmet off and I'm like, no, remove the cheek pads, like pull this thing off gently. And then, me being casual like that, the paramedics are like, oh yeah, whatever, let's throw him in the backboard and let's get him on to the hospital if he thinks he needs to go. And my surgeon, knowing how
I can picture that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just like, it is what it is. Like, this guy's clearly not in pain. We don't need to worry about it. You know, if you would have said spinal any other time, like, hell, they would have taken the helicopter. But I think my buddy was actually he had already hijacked that one for the day, though, Johnny. So, but yeah, normally you say spinal like that, there's no question they're flying you out of there. But I was very casual, so I don't think that they expected anything to be wrong. And it's just like a laid back, hey, this is broken. And we got there. And when it was sure enough broken, they're like, oh shit, he's got to go to the trauma center. So, but yeah, it was a very, very weird deal. And, it was one of those things, like, obviously I knew there was something wrong. I mean, I definitely knew something was wrong, but I mean, you don't think about, oh, what if my vertebrae shifts and severs my artery and I die? Like, you think, I can walk, I can live, I can race, get back on that bike and make it to the finish line. And that's just the way that I am. And I've always kind of been that way, no matter what it is, whatever I start, I'm going to try until I succeed. I'm not going to fail. You can knock me down 1,000 times. I'm going to continue getting back up. So it's, you ever want somebody to take to a bar fight, I'm your guy.
With Koscheck.
Yeah, with Koscheck. He'll probably fight a hell of a lot better than I am, but I can take a lot of punches.
Man, that is absolutely insane. Just built different. But the one thing that I was kind of wondering is, you talk about you broke your C7, and as close as that was to an artery, and suffering the risk of that, clipping that artery, and like you said, bleeding out. After talking to the doctors and really finding out what was going on with the situation and really the severity of it, is that something that could have been more harmful during the crash, or did they think that basically you completing the rest of the race and riding that 8 miles, were you at risk of it shifting then, or was it more of like a harder impact during the crash that would have done that?
Both. So, now I have to basically keep my neck locked down for 8 weeks because it can shift at any point. So, yeah, I mean, finishing that race could have possibly cost me a lot more. So yeah, I mean, there was the crash, obviously, if it would have changed the blow, I actually talked to my surgeon and kind of asked him what he thought about the neck brace. Cause like I'm one of the guys that wears the neck brace always. And I was like, do you think that if I'm going to break my neck, like what's the point? and he said, I genuinely believe that the neck brace helped you. Now if Liat doesn't pay me right now, I'm going to be pissed because I just sold, I don't know how many viewers have we got, like 7 or 8 on average. So I sold at least 7 neck braces.
The Monday shows we're at like 10 or 11. Come on now.
Okay, perfect. So I just sold 9 neck braces. No, so
and that is something that I wanted to talk to you about, because I saw that in that GNCC Facebook group. I saw a lot of comments going back and forth about your neck and your injury and your neck brace, and then all of a sudden you chimed in and kind of set the record straight on what you thought your neck brace did.
Yeah, so I talked to my surgeon. My surgeon was actually watching that group, and he was like, yeah, I just tried to keep my nose out of it. I didn't want to fight with all the Karens on there. He's like, it seemed like everybody just wanted to argue with you whenever you put your 2 cents in there. So he's like, I just kind of stayed out. But no, I mean, he flat out said, like, when a surgeon says something like that, that possibly could have saved your life, then I'm sorry, take it any other way you want. It possibly could have saved my life. Like, if that's the case, then why do I wear a showy helmet? Why don't I wear, a HJC? I mean, at the end of the day, like, when people make those decisions, it's totally rational. But when somebody wants to put a neck brace on, it's now all of a sudden not. And that's where, like, to me, if there's any possibility that it's better, like that's the whole reason that I put a showy helmet on my head. I mean, I think that it's the best helmet in the game, and I can't put a price on my head. Well, can you put a price on your neck? Like, is there really a dollar figure that you can put? Like, I mean, I personally, I don't think so. I mean, just because Ryan Hughes is running around talking shit on neck braces, now we all think that they're a bad thing. Well, you can see, actually, I think Liat has the statistics, or did at one point, that when Liat became such a game changer in the late, or when was it, 2010 area, somewhere in there, neck injuries were down and rider attendances were up. So it automatically tells you there's obvious statistics that it is doing something for the sport. Now, you can't say that it can avoid every neck injury, obviously, but the intent of that brace is to keep you from being a vegetable. Basically, it takes the blow from your C3, 4, 5, and 6 and moves it to your 7 or further down your spine, or possibly it takes the blow into your shoulders and into your ribs and through your chest. And yes, it can possibly bruise. Like, I've got bruises on my shoulders from where I landed and my helmet hit my neck brace. And had that not happened, could it have shifted? That's obviously nobody knows the answer to that, but I think that it could have done more. My surgeon thinks that it could have done more, and I'll be lining back up when you see me back. I'll definitely have a neck brace on. So, that's my 2 cents on it. I mean, obviously everybody can have their own opinion, but statistically, you can read whatever the hell you want, because you can write your own statistics online today. But you can see what has been produced and read into it as far as you want. I know the design of these things is, obviously nothing's perfect, but I wear one. I've heard the argument of, oh, they break collarbones. Man, shut up. Like, really? We're going to sit here. That is the oldest. Like, look at a guy who raced in 1970. Look at both of his collarbones. They're both broken. There weren't even neck braces around back then. Like, the collarbones have been breaking for years. Just because somebody wore a neck brace, and usually they break right where the neck brace sits. Well, hell, then, what's the excuse in the 1970s? It wasn't even a thing. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. And if it was proven to break collarbones, then how do you think that these companies would even survive? I mean, if you can prove that safety equipment is failing and breaking something else, then that's a lawsuit. And I don't see Liat out of business. So that's, again, like some of the shit that people come up with is just mind blowing. But I'm a realist, and like I can see black and white, and that's the black and white. Like, I'm sorry, you can't argue with black and white.
It's funny that you say that, because I was kind of thinking the collarbone argument that entire time, because I know that's one of the first things people say. And I have not done any research into this, and that's why what you just said kind of threw me for a loop, because from my understanding, I thought the whole point of the neck brace was to take the energy from your neck and put it down through your shoulders. I thought it was designed to break your collarbone instead of your neck, but at the end of the day, I would rather have 2 broken collarbones than 1 broken neck. So I thought that was the point of it, but I guess not. I don't know.
Yeah, so they actually sit up. If you look at them, like, they touch your chest and then they touch your traps. They don't technically touch your collarbones. Now, it has been said to me that if you do not wear the straps on the Liat and it twists, it rotates, and your helmet comes down, if it rotates, it can touch your clavicle, and there is a possibility that under rotation, and basically that means that you didn't have the straps on properly. So yes, there is a way that it can break your collarbone. If that's the case, then there's a way that a helmet could probably kill you too. Like, yeah. I mean, if we want to sit here and
ask the AMA, it's from putting GoPros on them.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like, at the end of the day, I mean, we can sit here and argue all day long, and I'll tell you that the sky's blue, and you can tell me whatever color you want. I mean, that's Biden's America for you. So, I mean, we can sit here and go back and forth, and we can talk about our feelings, or we can say what's true. And like, I believe that a neck brace is something that can potentially save your life. And if you are willing to ride with the risk of one less thing that could save your life, that's fine. That's on you. I personally won't choose to do it. I mean, that's my decision. Yours is yours. But, I saw the bruises around my neck. I know which way my head rotated, and I know which way, the fracture, or like kind of what caused the break. And, realistically, had that neck brace not been there between my shoulder and my helmet, it could have been a different outcome that we were talking about. I may not be on this phone with you right now. So, that's again, my input. That's, for whatever the people that want to go back home and read and, try to go through and find arguments too. There's arguments out there. Go for it. Have fun. Don't really care. Not going to change my opinion. If you need something to change yours, then start reading. I'm sure you can find 10 reasons why not to get something. So, yeah. I mean, that's my opinions. I think that mine are a little more black and white. I think there's some factual bases back there, and there's a lot of misleading information out there. But I think that Leatt and some of the guys in the past have done a really good job at proving this argument and kind of shooting down others. But then again, you got guys like Ryan Hughes, who the guy's obviously off his fucking rocker, and people think that he's something that we need to listen to and aspire to be like. So I don't know, my thoughts, but
man. So at the end of the day, neck braces could have the possibility of saving your life and breaking your neck. And if you wear it and you don't think that it could, I mean, you're not really losing out on anything by trying to find out. You know what I mean? Like,
slight discomfort.
Worst case scenario, you're a little bit more uncomfortable, and best case scenario, you save your life in the event of a crash.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, that's insane. Especially hearing all the details of everything that happened. It makes it even more crazy that somehow you got back on your damn bike and rode 8 miles to the finish line.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if I'm tough or stupid, but we're one of them.
Man, I know this is a lot to take in. It sounds like you have had a lot of time over the past week to kind of sit and think about things. The National Enduro Series second round is in May. Is that something that you are even thinking about, or is it kind of waiting for this next neck appointment and taking things from there?
We'll be there. 100%. Okay, 98%. I'll be there.
So it is February 28th, and you're staking your claim.
I mean, everybody said 8 weeks, so I've got 8 weeks. I don't have to do rehab. I got really lucky with the damage that's done. It's almost the best of a bad situation. I think, sitting here now, obviously there's a lot that can change between now and then, but if the bone heals fast, and I've always usually healed very fast, I don't think it would be far-fetched to say that it could be healed in 6 weeks and my wrist equally. So if that's the case, maybe we sit out 2 GNCCs and we're basically right back where we were last year in the GNCCs with 3 bad races. I just can't have any more failures after that. So, I don't know. It's again, we still got to have more visits and figure out exactly, is there more damage than what we originally saw? I know they did CT scans and they were more worried about my artery than anything. The next guy's going to want MRIs that could reveal something different. Not certain. There is, and possibly at this point my bone could have shifted. I mean, every time I sneeze, it takes me to my knees. So, there is obviously there's things that could be different. But standing here today, I would say that it's pretty safe to say that I'll be at that next National Enduro.
Dude, you're a madman. I'm sitting here scared to ask you about National Enduro in May, and you're talking about missing 2 GNCCs and going back to racing.
I started it. I intend to finish. Obviously, obviously I'm not going to put myself at risk. Like I'm not going to, if it's not healed and they say, it's pushing it, like spinal stuff's different than just coming back with a wrist a little bit too early. So like, I'm not going to do anything stupid there, but, if they say it's healed 6 weeks from now, then I'll be back that day. So, just really, it seems like it's just basically waiting for it to heal. And after that, we're not going to have any rehab or any issues. I might lose a little bit of muscle in my neck, seeing as it won't be able to move for that long, but I'll just duct tape my head down on my shoulders and call it good. So
does it give you any comfort in knowing that this broken wrist might be the first injury that you've ever had that you actually let heal because you're forced to not do anything because your neck is broken?
It's weird, but yes, as weird as it sounds, I think this will be the only injury I've ever had in my life that I will actually get the full heal time. That I didn't opt to come back early. Now, granted, if there was a race this weekend and my neck wasn't broken, you can bet your ass I would be racing. Like I'm already. Well, I'll put it this way. I had to go to the surgeon today because he responded to my story and said, basically he saw that I was out and about and using my hand normally. And he was like, all right, well, it's about time we put that thing in a cast. But I've already been rehabbing. The wrist is ready to go. Like I've got full motion in it. It's black and blue, but I'm one of those people that push it. So like, I don't want to lose my strength. I don't want to lose my motion. Like, even still, I'll be working and trying to keep it strong. So,
right wrist or left wrist?
Left.
And which bone was broken in it?
It was my radius, and it was just slightly displaced, and like a couple little bone pieces off of it, but nothing major.
Just slightly displaced and some bones floating around. No big deal.
Yeah, we were gonna, like, if the neck wasn't a deal, like I was gonna opt to operate and kind of go from there and try to get back, really soon. But it obviously isn't worth it at this point. Like, give it its full time. It shouldn't cause any long-term issues. So we'll be, by the time my neck's healed, it should be healed as well.
That just got me thinking. Going into Florida last year, you had a couple injuries. One injury happened pretty close to the race. Are we allowed to talk about that injury?
I don't care.
Well, no, that just made me think, like you said, this weekend, if it was just your wrist, you'd be lining up. And I was sitting here trying to think of what held you out of a race last year, comparing it to this year's injury, trying to get a gauge on which one was the more limiting one. I
mean, obviously getting bitten by an alligator is never ideal, but again, that situation could have been much worse, and we still lined up at Florida. And I think before my clutch started going out, I moved all the way up to just behind the leader in the first couple laps, and I don't need my fingers to race. My ring finger still doesn't close all the way; it's still swelled up, and I still can't feel it. That damn alligator got me good.
How did that happen? Because this is something that I heard through the pits last year. They're like, "Oh, I don't know how Stu's," because you missed Big Buck with a laceration through your back, and then coming into it, everyone's like, "All right, Stu's gonna be back racing." And then I get to Florida and I'm kind of walking around the pits and start hearing from people like, "Oh, I don't know how Stu's gonna do." It's like, "Well, why not?" Like, we got bit by an alligator, and I was like, "Oh, okay. So what's really going on?" They're like, "He got bit by an alligator."
The bad thing is, like,
it never actually happened.
Yeah, Jade said that never happened. You're not supposed to be saying that.
That's why I asked permission first.
I figure it's been a year. People can find out. Yeah, it's one of those things where if I didn't take photos of the discharge papers, it would be very hard to get somebody to believe that story. Yeah. Like, oh, you got bit by an alligator and didn't lose your hand completely? How did that happen? I don't really want to talk about it, but yeah, it happened. And then it's like, what was it, like a little baby? And I'm like, I mean, it was like 6 foot. No, no way. But yeah, sometimes when I get to drinking, I get to doing foolish stuff. And there was an alligator beside the boat, and I decided that I wanted to flick him in his nose a few times, and I've done it 1,000 times. Normally, they're not that quick. It was a cool night. So normally, when it's cold, they don't move fast. And by God, I was wrong on that one. He grabbed the hold of my hand. He came up in the boat with me because I couldn't get him off.
Oh, my God.
He started trying to roll. Johnny G put him in a headlock. Ryder Lafferty started getting screwdrivers in the boat, trying to pry his mouth open. Caleb was holding my arm. It was a team effort. We had 5 people wrestling this damn alligator to get it. If it would have rolled, it would have taken every finger right off. But luckily, it just chomped down, caused some nerve damage and some ligament damage. But aside from that, no majors. It was just a little bit of super glue and some bandages, and we were good to go. I had to stay the night in the hospital that night, and so they could get everything cleaned out. But yeah, it was. You would figure in a hospital in Palatka, Florida, that
they've seen more gator bites.
You would think that they've seen an alligator bite before. When I watch him, they.
Where?
I don't know. He finds everything to eat. Kid just puts anything he can find on the floor, he puts straight in his mouth, and I don't even know where he finds it. But you would figure in Palatka, Florida, that they've seen and addressed an alligator bite before. Nope. I come in, and they ask what happened, and, like, you can't lie at that point. Like, you got to say, I got bit by an alligator. We were out fishing, and I was being a dumbass. Like, that's about all you can say. So, if not, they don't know what antibiotics to put you on. So I'm like, I tell them what happened. They call everybody in that hospital to the front. I swear, everybody came in my room at one point, and that everybody in there was like, I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've been working at an ER my whole life, and I ain't never seen nobody with an alligator bite. This is the first one. And I'm just like, oh my God. And like every single person, every nurse came in, every doctor came in. They had to see it. And, you know, I felt bad, like it was just a few cuts. And I had a brief video that somebody took while we were trying to fight the alligator off. It was literally on my hand. Like, Sean Remington was in the back of the boat sleeping and woke up to see this alligator in the front, and he didn't realize what was going on. So he was videoing because he saw an alligator in the boat, and he thought we caught an alligator. And he stopped videoing about the time he realized that it was on my hand. So,
oh, my God.
Yeah, it was eventful, to say the least. But yeah, so that was another good story of that was a dumb injury.
Sounds like the people in Florida got faster reflexes than you.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, dude, I've been messing with alligators for years. Hell, I've never had an issue. That one was just faster than I was.
That's insane. So you talk about Johnny G and teamwork makes the dream work. It sounds like getting that gator off of you. Have you been able to talk to any of the other fellas that shared ambulances with you at Big Buck?
Yeah, I actually FaceTimed Johnny a few times while we were in the hospital. I was like, hey, why don't you walk down here and come visit me? Yeah, I talked to him a little bit, and then I was messaging Thad back and forth a little bit about it. And, just, you know, normal BS. The last few weeks has been pretty wide open on the phone, and got to talk to those guys a few times in the hospital. But pretty much since I've been out of the hospital, it's been, let's see what my text message count is up to right now. 1,241 text messages.
That's it.
326 calls. Yeah. So, the rest of the week's been pretty consumed with trying to get back or catching up on whatever TV show. I'm pretty sure I've already binge watched two different Netflix seasons, or not seasons, like full shows, like 5 seasons. Like, we've been really getting after it. Me and my chair, we've really been busy over here.
Well, so, man, stay in the chair and watching Netflix. Don't be out prepping tracks and stuff.
Dude, it's so hard. Like, I'm not one of those people to sit still. It's the most difficult thing, that just sitting here knowing, like, obviously I'm not, I mean, I've done something every day. I probably need to tone it back down, but like, I'm already trying to figure out if I want to go to Florida. So, depending on how everything looks on Thursday, we might just go down there to watch and hang out, but we'll see. Obviously got to have a few more days to figure it out. And I like watching the races and studying my competition. And, I don't enjoy, you see a lot more when you're there, pay attention a lot more, listening in and knowing what's truly going on. So I like to be there.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to see you out there, but dude, this is seriously one of the things that, man, you gotta take it easy. I don't want to be the one sitting here preaching at you because I'm freaking running around on a broken leg, but that's nothing compared to what you got going on. Next are scary. You only got one of them.
Yeah. I'm trying to find somebody to just drive my RV down, then I can lay in the back and ride it out.
Hey, man, let me know. I'll put that big rig in the wind for you.
All right. Yep. Sounds good for me.
So the one thing too, and I appreciate your time so much, and like you said, I know you're looking for stuff to do at this point, but to have all those missed calls, have all the text and everything, I really appreciate you taking the time out to chat and kind of get some of this stuff off your chest. It's been interesting to hear the stories, but one of the texts that I kept getting, and your Aflac agent, Craig Oberholzer.
Oh, you're already going there. If I tell you who the fourth person is, it's gonna piss off 7 others.
How'd you know? I was going the long way to set that up. You caught it off the get go.
I could tell it because I could see the way you were leading it into it. All right. Anyways, you can keep going. So the people that haven't heard the question know where we're going.
Now you got me scared to ask it. No, so Craig stepped in. He chatted with us last week and we kind of talked about everything going on. But that is the main question that I've been getting asked and getting messaged and getting texts about is you, before Big Buck, kind of alluded to 4 guys that you saw as championship hopefuls for the year. You gave us 3 of them. You left us hanging with the 4th one. So now I guess I will leave it up to you as to whether or not you would like to unveil who the 4th person was.
Well, we can basically recreate that list because 2 of us are gone. So
see, I didn't want to say it. You said it. I didn't want to say it. I was thinking it. You said it.
So with the recreation, there are some added variables. So when you lose guys that are podium regular guys, are normally up front, it changes the mindset of other racers. So
yeah,
I think this is going to benefit one rider in particular. Just my thoughts. He rode very well. I got to ride, actually. I was at Big Buck. I kind of rode in that group, the majority of the day, and I got to see a lot. I was kind of just laid back in there, and I'd make passes and then lose ground, and just kind of I never really rode over my head, just stayed there and got to watch a lot of guys. And I think that Trevor Bollinger is one of those people, we've talked about the mental strength and stuff like that. Like, Trevor is one of those people that he tries to be mentally strong. Like, obviously he's on this strict diet, no BS, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, he's not that mentally strong in himself and his own abilities on the bike. If he were, he wouldn't have to rely on all the other stuff to make him mentally strong. So my personal thought, Trevor Bollinger could possibly be a major threat moving forward. He was riding better than I've ever seen him ride in the past. He was a little bit aggressive in the way he was doing things. But he's been in XC1 a while, and he's ridden in fast groups, like, not discrediting him. I mean, there was a time where he rode the rear wheel of Caleb Russell all day in New York the other year, but he hasn't spent a lot of time. Yeah. I mean, he's ridden there too. But he hasn't spent a lot of time in that lead group. And I think that he was being a little bit too aggressive, kind of getting ahead of himself in some of his passes and not really thinking out the whole equation, like where I was kind of like, all right, you want to go? Like, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to run it back in next corner. I'm going to figure out why you're faster on this half of the track. So he's one that could possibly do more damage now.
Hey,
and he was not originally on that list. I had no need to put him on that list.
Before you go any farther, keep in mind, if you're starting a new list of 4 right now, you're at 2. Before, you were going to piss off 7 other people, but now, since we're adding 2 additional people, the people that you do leave off are going to be much more offended.
Okay, well, let them be offended. Strang was number 4 on my list.
See, now
and Strang's still there.
He was. Go ahead.
I know you asked if it was Strang, and I wasn't gonna throw anybody out there. I wanted to leave everybody guessing.
You shut it down. I said there's only one other former champion out there. You said no, not him.
Yeah. You brought that up, and I was just trying to shut it down quick. But I didn't want anybody to know. I wasn't trying to lead on to anybody else. Strang would be my number 4, just simply because he's tough. Like he's so consistent. He's so smart. Like, if any of these other guys screw up, you can bet your ass he'll be there to capitalize. Is he going to win a lot? No. Like, I think that Strang is going to be a constant pain in the ass for Ben or whoever's going fast that day, because all it takes is one slip up and he's going to be right there. I mean, Strang's just a guy, like, you can't count him out at the end of the day. And I've been riding with him like this off season. Obviously, Strang and I kind of always ride together a good bit, and I've ridden with him enough to see that for some reason I don't know why, like he's actually going faster this year than I think he's gone in at least last year. Like we were riding a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks before the first of the season, and riding a really gnarly rutted turn track, and normally, like, on a day like that track, I feel like I would slightly have the advantage over him, and he definitely had the advantage almost every day that he came down. I mean, he was riding either with me or ahead of me, slightly pulling. I mean, when I say slightly, like at the end of the moto, it might have been 2 seconds, but it, like, we're all so close in speed anymore. Like 2 seconds in a 20-minute moto is still enough to know, like, all right, we're obviously both. And I know when I'm riding really well. Like, obviously, we're both riding really well, but I'd say that he was probably like the fastest I've seen him ride in the last couple of years. Just very, very consistently fast. Every time we rode this year, and he's got all those kids hanging around, which are going to push him a little bit to the next level. So I think that he's going to be, he's definitely going to be tough. Ben's obviously riding really well. He did exactly what he needed to do. I could discredit his performance very slightly, but not any more than that, because he won and he did exactly what he should have done. I think the only negative that I saw in his performance that day was, I think he pushed a little bit too much when he didn't need to. And I think he was starting to feel a little bit fatigued towards the end. But again, had we caught him, I think that he probably would have caught a second win. And again, he could have been playing the pit boards, and maybe he wasn't worn out at all. Maybe he saw the pit boards. He's like, shit, I got plenty of time. I just know I kind of put on a charge there. Basically right before I hit the deck, and I was cutting down his lead pretty aggressively. I was thinking, okay, maybe he is a little bit tired, but again, maybe he's looking at the pit board and saying, oh, well, shit, I got 41 seconds. There's no need to get ANC right now. So, you can look both ways there, but again, Ben's going to be really, really hard to beat this year. I mean, he was, he's my pick before the season started. I told you Ben was going to be the toughest competitor out there. And I think that still stands 100%. I mean, the way he rode there, the way he got up front fast is something that he hasn't been able to do in the past. So I think that shows that he's figured out his weakness, and that's going to make him that much tougher to beat week in and week out. And last year, I mean, he was basically on the podium, I think, every race, but maybe two. So he knows exactly how to ride all this terrain. And I think he's still, my number one pick for the year. Are there more guys that can win a championship? Absolutely. But it's going to take a little bit of luck on their side and a little bit of failures on his.
Wow. Yeah. What a way to wrap that up and put it into perspective. I mean, in this, just like we saw at Big Buck, anything can happen on any day.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, mine was like, dude, you can read my body. Like, I was not pushing. I was not. I knew this section that I had a line picked out that I didn't need to pass Josh like right there. I saw a lapper peel left, and I just instinctively took the right line, and I missed the stump. Like I saw the stump. There's either a second stump there or something else caught me. I don't know. Like I want to go back and look at that spot exactly, but the stump that was on the left side of the track, I know for a fact I remember the crash, and I know I missed it. 110% certain I missed that. I missed that crash. That stump. So, I'm like, mine was something freak. I still don't know. Like it maybe it was something hidden that I just didn't see. But like you can see, I wasn't pushing or riding on edge or anything like that. I think it was just the way that things fell, and realistically, like I've walked, pedaled, and ridden that same line basically where Josh went, that I had chose not to go 10 times at that point. So I think that when I had to change my line, I just wasn't prepared for whatever I did hit, which is, again, just abnormal because I'm a national enduro guy. Like I'm good at reading trail. That's not, it's not one of my flaws. I mean, I should have been able, whatever it was, I should have been able to pick up on it. And I still couldn't tell you what it was. I mean, I know for a fact I went to the right side of the stump. Maybe possibly a rock kicked my back end over. I know there's loose rocks. I know that sounds like that's what Johnny hit. Sounds like Thad hit a stump, kind of the same thing. Couldn't see it in a rocky section. So
that line was definitely not the line that everybody was taking. But one thing that I was wondering is right at that section, were you trying to, I know you said you didn't have to pass Josh right there, but you and Strang were pretty much wheel to wheel. Was that a spot that you were eyeing up to try to make a pass, or basically right where I was at and filming it from, the guy, there was a lapper that hit a tree right where I was at. Is that what kind of forced you into that right line, or is that you just trying to take a different line than Josh trying to find somewhere?
So it was, I mean, at that point I wasn't trying to find anything. I that late in the race, I'm not searching. I am calculated at that point.
Like have your lines down pat, know where you're.
Yeah, I didn't need to be right on Josh just yet. I had three places where I knew three lines. Basically, we were in a group the majority of the day, so I knew who was taking what, and I suckered some guys into a few lines that were worse, and I knew that there was three places that Josh was not hitting that I was hitting that were slightly different. One big ditch section that you basically jump through three ditches that I was prepared to get Cindy on. Another outside end, and then another high line that I didn't take basically all day. I pedaled it in and never took it because we were in a group. And it was late in the lap.
Strategizing.
But what's that?
Said strategizing.
Yeah, so I, there's a couple things that I don't give up or try not to. Obviously you can go pedal the line and think you're going to save it, and then everybody's on it first lap, and you're like, well, shit, you can't use that now. But yeah, so I had 3 different places, possibilities. I'm not saying I would ever make the pass. Josh may have had the same 3 places picked out. So, but I had 3 possibilities to pass him. That was not one. And the next one wasn't until the ditch jump, so it was about another mile after that. So I didn't need to be making a pass right there. That line that I was on wasn't faster than his line or able to make a pass. I just saw a lapper go left, and that lapper kind of pulled off. And I know he hit the tree, but he kind of like leaned up against the tree to let us go by. And like in my mind, I'd already seen that he was going left before he did that, and I already planned to go right. So I was already gonna go right, just because I knew where the trail went, and I was cutting under just to get, clear of avoiding any possible errors from a lapper. So it was just, again, spur of the moment, last second decision. I still genuinely don't know what I hit. I know there was a stump there. I saw the stump. I know I went to the right side of the stump. They said that I hit the stump. I know for a fact I went to the right side. Now, granted, there could have been something else or second stump. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then, again, I guess that whole topic kind of leads into a lot of people have said Big Buck was extremely dangerous. So, all these guys got hurt. What are you guys doing, GNCC? Is there fault by GNCC? Absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. There's fault, and if you look deep into anything, I mean, you can put you can say that a neck brace or a helmet is at fault. Did they do anything wrong? No. Like, the track has just got straighter. That track, like, you can walk through and see where the old single track used to be and how it used to S through. Now it's just more direct. It's a little bit faster. It is what it is. That didn't make it any dangerous either. What made it more dangerous was the amount of riders out there. So Johnny's crash due to another rider. My crash due to another rider. And again, it's not necessarily another rider's fault. It's that I'm trying to change my line because I see another rider in a different line. So when you see these lappers, you change your line and you now hit a section that you had not previously walked. So we're riding pretty much balls to the walls all day. We're 95%. We're basically on that red line of making a mistake and not. So if you take a line that you have not walked and not seen, not previously inspected, because you're kind of forced there because you know that the outcome could possibly be you losing a position if you follow a lapper here, there, whatever. You get to these positions on the track to where you have not seen this track, you've not seen this section, you might hit a vine, you might hit a rock, you might hit a root, whatever it may be. You're now forced into this situation, and that's where the mistakes, I think, happened this weekend. It wasn't GNCC's fault. Like, yeah, if you want to sit back and say, they could have done this better, could have done that better. Okay, well, yeah, we can speculate, but realistically, it was nobody's fault. It was just, it wasn't that the course, I think, was any more dangerous. It was drier than anticipated, which made it faster. They've done the actual property itself, like the tight wood, or what used to be tighter woods is now all been select cut. So the pines are now open. That makes the track faster. Like, there's little things that just happen. I mean, it's that. And then, people say, oh, well, it's the dirt bikes and the power they're making and how fast the bikes are. That's the next argument. Man, that's bullshit. Like, at the end of the day, Caleb Russell won on a 125. You're telling me it's as fast as a 450? Absolutely not. But the speed that we can carry is what I think has changed. It's not the motorcycles either. It's the speed. I mean, we're all training day in and day out and doing things differently. There's a little bit more science to what we're doing with our programs, that we're not just going out and riding and doing a couple motos with the boys, calling it a day and going in the hill climbs and then sitting down and sipping on a few cold ones. Like, personally, I'm waking up, hitting the gym, riding and doing structured motos 4 days a week and then sip it on the cold ones. But, there's definitely, a lot more speed that has come in the last couple of years. And it's obvious. I mean, everybody wanted to sit back and talk about how Joe Sepp's going to look like U-Haul when he comes over here. Fuck, the only reason I saw him is because I passed him around the outside and then I wrapped myself around a tree. Like, realistically, or a stump or whatever I hit. Realistically, like, the GNCC, the level of speed is incredible. And if you couldn't see it after this weekend in comparison to the top riders in the world or best rider in the world, then you're obviously blind. I mean, it was minutes different in pace. I mean, the GNCCs are definitely the fastest, gnarliest sport out there. And I think in comparison, like, there is none realistically. I mean, they're just, it can't be compared to. So, that's the speed that we're carrying for 3 hours is just, it's really just going to a whole nother level. Ever since, and you got to look back, like Yuha and Knight, those were the guys that definitely, they were the guys that brought that speed to the U.S. And since then it's been built on. Those guys treated it more serious than the U.S. guys did prior. And then you saw guys like Charlie Mullins, who's kind of stepped it up as far as treating it a little more serious. And then Josh Strang was kind of in that same era where everything started turning to that more serious, faster moto back rider. And then Caleb just kind of took it to a whole nother level where he's training it out in Bakers and riding moto all week and turning it from a 3-hour GNCC with a little bit of pacing to a 3-hour moto. And that's kind of where we are today. It's a straight 3-hour moto, high intensity from start to finish.
Yep, absolutely. And the last thing here, and I know I think I said last thing before, but I never thought about this until you just said it, about having as many people on the track. Do you think there is a way, and would you personally like it if there was a way to have it to where there was no lappers? It was like the pro main event, and maybe even not even that, but how they kind of do the Ironman schedule and they split the morning race up. They're talking about doing that at Big Buck going forward because of how many people there are. What if they could do that and the WXC is the main event in one of the morning races, and then all the B-class riders are the main event in the other one? So then the afternoon race is only XC1, 2, and 3 and A classes. Do you think that is possible? And would you want to see something like that? Or do you think having all the other riders out there provide another element? Because like someone like me can go out there and race the same damn race that you're in. I have no business being anywhere near a dirt bike at the same time that all you guys are racing. And I mean, we've seen time and time again, lappers affect outcomes, lappers affect seasons, lappers affect injuries. What's your thoughts?
I know that Tim and Carrie listen to this, so I got to tread lightly.
Sorry, I never thought about that until you said something about it, and then it kind of, that's just how I kind of work through it.
So I mean, I've actually put thought into this, and
I will say, I think it is cool that someone like me or like your average racer can go do that, because no one can go play football with Tom Brady. No one can go play basketball with LeBron James. Anybody can go out and race with the top guys in the world in the sport. So that is cool.
No, I agree. Like, that part is definitely awesome. I personally think that there are some things that could be done differently, better, possibly. Obviously, there's a lot of moving variables. So anything that I say can obviously be argued on the backside. You can play devil's advocate all you want. And I'm sure that, everything that crosses my mind, there's something that is equally opposing. So
neck braces suck, bro.
What's that?
I said neck braces suck, bro.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so realistically, my personal thoughts are, it could make that racing better, but it could also make racing worse. The lappers can play an effect to where a lot of times the leader if he gets out front, he can he can get held up a little bit and the group can catch back up. So, that could possibly make racing better. Then there's the flip side. There's a couple races last year where I got up front. I had so many lappers between me that I was just dicing through them, and it was like things just kind of fell into place. So I pulled a better gap just because of the lappers. And I personally think that it would be a lot easier if there were a lot less lappers, because you get a lot less of the yo-yo effect, but also that yo-yo effect gives the viewers more to talk about, because they're like, holy shit, he just made up 25 seconds on that lap. Wow, he's on fire. I mean, dude, that could literally be one tangle with a lapper. I mean, one tangle with a lapper puts you over a bank, you're stuck in a vine, 25 seconds gone. I mean, that happened at Snowshoe this year. When Ben passed me for the lead with a lap and a half to go, tangled with a lapper, got punted off the side of the mountain and threw away 30, 40 seconds right there, just one lapper. So, but, just as easily could have gone the other way. So there's so much, that we could sit here and talk both sides on having the people out there. I think it's cool to be able to ride with the best. I do. At the same time, being one of the best, in the sport today, it makes our job a little bit more dangerous, because there is a lot of times that guys have issues with lappers. Babe, could you please get him to stop? Sorry, my kid's trying to take over the show over here.
No worries.
But there's a lot of times where the lappers put us in a lot of very dangerous situations. There's the lappers that point where they're going, and then there's lappers that point where they want you to go. And you never know which one's which. So you're taking a gamble. When he points left, does that mean that he wants you to go left, or does that mean he's using that as an indicator that he's about to go left? And me normally, when they point left, I go left. If they point right, I go right. But sometimes a guy will point left, and that's his indicator. That's his blinker. He's now turning left on you after you clicked fourth gear and you're going to make the pass. Now you're aiming at a big pine tree, and he's throwing his hand up, pissed off at you, and you're about to end your life because his dumbass was using it as a blinker. So, it's like, okay, well, now I'm in a fight with a lapper, and neither of us meant anybody any harm. And it's like you end up and both of you are pissed off. So, and both of you are put in a very dangerous situation. So there are definitely positives to having less guys out there, but there's a time frame. So if we stretch it out any further, there isn't time for any more races in the day. I mean, really, like, there is not time for any more races in the day at a GNCC. The best case scenario is adding Fridays, micro racing, or maybe micros, minis, Friday afternoon. Now, I know the backside of this. If Tim and Carrie are listening, I'm sure they'll say, well, then you got to have an ambulance there. You're paying X amount of medics. You got to have this done. You got to have that done. You got to have, all this other stuff. Well, if we did the bicycle racing and the micro racing on Fridays, I'm sorry, but they are the smallest of what we have going on. Now, I'm not discrediting the micros at all, because at the end of the day, they are the future of the sport. I love the kids. I'm all for the micro racing, but they're already racing Saturday morning when everything's smooth anyway. So why don't we try to move that, the first 4 hours of Saturday every day, plus the hour of bicycle racing at the end of the day, all onto Friday. And most people are already there. So yes, you're going to have the micro people upset. Oh, well, we can't show up on Friday. Man, y'all were already there on Friday. Don't lie to me. That's the thing. Everybody's leaving Thursday anymore. So what's it really matter? I mean, hell, ever since COVID, people are like, there's people showing up at Ironman 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
But, I think that if we could do that, it could be shifted to, let's say, a 12 o'clock start time for the first ones on Friday, be done by dark on Friday. We've knocked that out. Now we start at 8 a.m. with the amateurs. We get our youth bike racing done. And, you could literally even race them on quad between the amateur quads and the PM quads. Those two don't need to be split anymore. Like they haven't grown any significantly to need to split on the quad side. But you could do bike racing between those or after those. If you started at 8 a.m., your pro quad race could be at 11 a.m., or you could have your mini bikes between the two. And then this is just hypothetically thinking here. It could be cool. Just an idea. I know people are going to hate to hear this. If the pro bike racing was right after the pro quad racing, and then your entire crowd is there. So
yeah,
if you've noticed, like, quad finish lines are usually always a little bigger than bikes just because all the bike guys are there. And on bike day, by the time we're done, half the people have pulled out. Like, Big Buck was probably the largest finish line that I've ever seen. This Big Buck was, like, huge. Now, granted, I was, like, in a world of hurt, and a lot of those people were there to see my beer drinking dumbass finish. So I let a lot of people down. Hopefully they'll keep coming back. But
you might have been seeing double the people too.
I could have been. You are right. No, it was weird, dude. I came around and I saw like the crowd lit up, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in 10th place, and they're screaming for me. Like, oh, what is wrong with these people? They still like me at least. Maybe one of them will give me a beer. But no, it was actually really cool that they wait. My fans waited until I came in. Obviously I fell 5 minutes down on that last lap, and they were still standing there waiting. And there was a huge crowd. Like, for Big Buck, Big Buck's not the biggest race of the year. It's obviously gotten bigger, and I think this year was probably record numbers. I know the bike turnout was, but I would say overall, like, I bet that there was over 1,000 more people, possibly 2,000 more in the parking lot. It was really, really cool to see, my local GNCC grow that much. And love to say that I have a small part to play in that, but it was probably just the fact that Ginger Billy was there. But no, it was like, that would be a cool thing to me, would be getting that crowd, keeping that crowd. If let's say that we went right after the PM quads, you would see much larger turnouts, I think. And again, this could change things. There's always the devil's advocate. So, I'm just got to remember that. Obviously there's a pro row that we share with bikes and quads, but yeah. Damn it, can we not make more parking? Or not more parking? Can we not organize one more parking area for pros to go through? Like, I don't think it'd be that difficult. The crowd would possibly grow because you could see more of the pro racing, cut the B riders out of it. And they could see, I think I've heard a lot of B riders that are upset that they get promoted to the B class because they want and enjoyed watching us. They want to be there for it. Yep. So, I think that could possibly change things in the GNCC world. Now, is it the best idea? It obviously, again, there's always the devil's advocate. Maybe it doesn't work at all, but I'm just, thinking outside the box. It's something that I have thought about, like, time frames. How could you schedule it to make it all work and do more with the time? And that's the only thing that I see that could possibly be better. It in my mind, and when I say it, when I think about it, it makes sense, because the biggest thing I hate to see is that damn snowshoe crowd leave as soon as we start.
Yeah,
man, on quad day, the city is insane. The whole place is packed. On bike day, there's 40 guys that just got too drunk the night before to drive home, and they figured they might as well stay around.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, it's the quad day is so good there because all the bike guys are there, all the spectators are there.
And no one
Saturday's
has
the
service,
day.
so everyone's hanging out and having fun.
Exactly, but Sunday it's nothing like Saturday for the quad. So, if pro quad race was started and on its way by 11 o'clock, they're done by 1. We start at 2. It's it would be ideal, or maybe they got a 10:30 start. Maybe we run the AM quads. They start at 8. They're done. They're only an hour and a half, aren't they? Or are they 2? No, they're 2.
I'm not sure.
So they're done. 10:30 start time, which will always be postponed. So 10:45, we could probably always be started by 1:45, which is very doable. And the biggest reason that we usually can't start on time is because of the amateur race before us. There's so many people that break down because there's just so many people out there. The track changes would be easy because they're already going to leave in the afternoon section. It would be a totally different track because we couldn't go out and see the different lines, and we'd be riding quad ruts, which could possibly change the racing dramatically. I mean, maybe it doesn't, maybe it does. We used to race in quad ruts, which made things much different when we were younger. But I mean, there's that would be my best case scenario. I think, and it's tough because the schedule has been the same for so long. But I've always been one of those outside of the box thinkers. How can we make this sport better? Like I've tried to do little extra things that a lot of things just didn't catch on. Like for me, like we are the cheapest sport to get into for an outside of the industry sponsor. Like if you're looking at any other form of motorsports, we are the most bang for your buck, flat out. I don't care who it is. We're the most bang for your buck. $50,000 in NASCAR doesn't buy you a sticker in the quarter panel. $50,000 in GNCC damn near gets you a title sponsor spot. That's shrouds. That's whatever you want. $200,000 in NASCAR buys you a sticker in the quarter panel. $200,000 in GNCC buys a team. I mean, I just being realistic, like that's to us. We just got to figure out how can we be more appealing to these guys, and maybe doing everything on Saturday and keeping that crowd and having that big crowd is one of those things. Maybe a Friday night press release, a 30-minute quad, 30-minute bike press release, something professionally done, so that people have a time to engage and ask the questions that they want to ask. Maybe that's something that could be added in. There's so many things. I mean, obviously people see what I'm doing with my social media. My average engagement has doubled this year, and I try to do these extra things. Like those things go a lot further than you realize. And all it takes is coming across the right desk on the right day. And that's what we have to do to grow this sport. So, when I went, like, you opened a can of worms when you went down this. You should have never gone down this rabbit hole. It's actually something that I think would butterfly effect, something that would spiral. And I think that affecting one little thing like that could possibly affect the entire sport. Basically by changing that, our live show could go straight through. Our live show could literally never stop rolling. We don't do podium interviews anyway. They just do post-race on the live feed. So what does it matter? Roll it right through. Live feed straight to the start of the XC1 bikes. While they're doing that, the post-race interviews, that's enough time to get the track crew to clear the track, and then we're right back to racing. That's all. That's just my ideas. I finally had the camera and the spotlight and a platform that I could push it. So you just got my full push just because you wanted to go down that rabbit hole. But again, as I stated, I needed to be careful when I got involved with this. Is I know 2 people that listen to this show, and I know those 2 people may or may not have some of the call on our weekend schedule.
I think they are 2 of the 10 or 11 people. So
yeah, 10 or 11. Right. Yeah.
man, that's an
Yeah,
interesting perspective. I never thought about that. But I mean, like you said, there's a lot of things that make sense about it. And just kind of going off what you were saying a second ago, obviously didn't get a chance to speak with you after the race because I guess you had something else going on. But man, throughout the whole weekend, every single person that I saw, it's like, oh, hey, how's it going? By the way, I love the show that you're doing with Stu. And it seems like everywhere I went throughout the pits, like, obviously the show has grown a lot over the past year or so, but I think this adds a whole nother dynamic to it. And I couldn't be more grateful for your time. I think your insight is awesome, and I think it's something that has also never been done in the sport, where you have one of the top guys coming on and giving their perspective and everything that you talk about. I think it's cool. I think that you're talking about your social media engagement, kind of things that you're pushing. This was one of those things, and I think it's been cool to see how well receptive it has been. And like I said, I didn't get a chance to speak with you after the race, but everywhere I went through the pits, everyone was talking about it. So, man, I just wanted to come on here and say thank you for your time and also that interesting perspective that you put on the whole race thing. But, man, especially with everything you got going on right now, it's cool, and I really appreciate that you came on and chatted with us. I think it's nice to hear a perspective that wouldn't normally have a chance to be told.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always done the extra things. I feel like I've always been the type that's done the extra step here and there, and you know, announced on live feed, little things like that. And I truly believe that if I hadn't done that in my earlier part of my career, I would probably not be racing today. I mean, there was a time where I was an 8th place, 9th place GNCC guy, and just struggling. I mean, a fifth, 6th national enduros, those results don't pay the bills. So, I was always trying to push and present myself in other areas, and doing stuff like this, it helps me. It helps me grow my brand, and also it gives me a platform to discuss some of the internals of racing. And, you know, one day when all this is behind us and I'm finally free to talk about the people involved in this sport, the wrong and the corruption that it does have behind closed doors, believe me, it will make its way to this show first. It'll be a long time from now, but you know, there's a lot of good and a lot of bad in this sport. Obviously I love it, or I wouldn't be doing it. But no, it's cool to have a platform, a place to discuss it. And I think that even racers, I know there was a racer that said something last week about the Pulp MX show and how it gave a rider a place to show their true personality. You know, doing things like this, like, I think it's good. I'd love to see more guys get involved with it. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, just like I think I said it on the show, like, Ben is a Tomac. Tomac lets his results. He doesn't post on social media. He shows up, he wins races, he goes home. That's his thing. But Ben's a buddy of mine. He's a super fun, likable guy. And there are people that don't like Ben in the pits just because they don't know him. Like, they genuinely just don't know him. So
100%.
doing stuff like this, like it's a good way to show people that you're more than just a motorcycle racer, that, you know, you have other interests. And like Ben, he's great at doing flooring. He does actually, he's not a robot. He does drink. He's fun to be around. Like, it's, you know, obviously he probably can't say that on the show, but I'll say it about him. KTM's currently finding him right now as we speak, but you drink a beer with Stu Baylor? No, I'm just kidding. But no, there's, you know, things like this I think are really good. Obviously for me personally, later in my career, the more I realized the things that like this that stand out. You know, if I owned a team, I would push my guys to do stuff like this. And you know, stuff like this, I feel like it's there in every other sport except ours. So you know, keeping a show like this going, I appreciate you guys as much as anything. And the media side of it is at the end of the day becomes so strong. Like we can't overlook it. Like we have to play our part. We have to do this. And quite frankly, I enjoy doing things like this. And, I may come off as cocky from time to time. Hell, maybe I am cocky from time to time. It is what it is. I mean, I've accomplished what I set out to do as a kid. I mean, it's not me being cocky. I'm proud. Like I'm glad to be where I am. I'm glad that I can sit back and say, I've aside from a GNCC championship, I have accomplished everything that I ever wanted as an 8-year-old kid. And, that's not me being cocky. Yeah, there's things that I may say that might come across as cocky, especially when talking about other competitors. But that's the tough part about doing these shows is being able to show personality, being able to say things without being an asshole, and also being able to have a little bit of fun with it without, saying something out of line. And obviously I'm one of the guys that is known for saying things out of line. So when I say it, it's not a big surprise. But, when other riders do these things, it's tough. So I think that's why we get a little bit more pushback and why guys don't sign up quite as willingly as I do. But, it's very easy to step out of line when you're just having a conversation. I mean, as a racer, you start to realize, especially the longer you're in it, there's always somebody listening. And you can only say so much before you cross that line. But, I think what we're doing is good. I'd love to see other guys getting involved. And at the end of the day, hey, you got to make money. So here's my plug for T-Chef. If there's anybody out there that wants to sponsor the show, the weekend reviews with Stu, hit me up, hit Tyler up, probably hit Tyler up. I've got so many messages. I'm like, I can't keep up with them. But if there's anybody that wants to sponsor the show, title sponsor, whatever, let us know. Jump in. Like, the views are actually, we discussed it quite a few times, but almost we're in the top 1% for podcasts, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, from a download perspective, it is now in the top 1% of all, not dirt bike podcasts, all podcasts.
All podcasts in general. So, obviously, subscribers, you and turning in every week. I think with my perspective now, it's going to grow, and I'm going to push on some other racers, and hopefully, we'll continue to grow this thing. Getting a few more guys in. I really, obviously, I wanted to sit down with Caleb and those guys after Big Buck. We probably could have done that had that one guy not done that stupid shit and ended up in the hospital. Oh yeah, that was me. No, I think that really at some point I want to get Caleb's perspective on a lot of things too, because he's one of those guys like Ben Kelly who was always misunderstood. I think that
For sure.
that he's got a lot of good views, and obviously he's the baddest. I mean, in my personal opinion, he is Tom Brady or Michael Jordan. There is no better. You can argue all you want that, okay, Eddie Lojack had more championships, or Randy and Lafferty had more national enduro wins, or somebody else overall at ISD. At the end of the day, I do not think internationally that there was a better motorcycle rider in the off-road than Caleb Russell. So, to have his perspective, I think would be very cool. Obviously he's working with a lot of these guys close week in and week out. So that's the next goal, is get that guy on here, get him a couple Miller Lights, and see what he's really got to say.
So we'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. I did get to watch Supercross with Knowles, Caleb Russell, and Jason Raines. Caleb did not seem to be too much of a fan, but we need to get him on here and talk about it and see why not.
Well, that's because Caleb's an asshole. I'm just gonna have to talk to him. I'll call him up. We'll get this one sorted out. I mean, Either that or everybody listening here in the final couple minutes, just as soon as you get off, get on social media, call his ass out. Anything that he posts, the same way that you guys are doing me for Busch Light, tag him and my post, his post, on the Pipes post. Say, we want to hear you, and we want to hear you talk. Just say that you want to hear him talk shit on me. He would definitely sign up to talk shit on me. I mean, I feel like
Gotta have some rebuttals at this point.
I mean, yeah, like it's gotta, like it should be able to come out easy. And we're not racing, so it's not like I can punt him off the track next week. So like he has no feelings to hurt. At the end of the day, I mean, realistically, it's his time to shine. I know he doesn't agree with a lot of things that I do and say, so I'd love to hear what they are. I mean, I've heard what they are, but I'm sure everybody else would love to hear what they are. And, you know, maybe some other guys spread some light on what he sees inside his facility and, you know, working with those guys.
Yeah, it'll definitely offer a unique perspective into that. But, yeah, I got to hear a little bit of it briefly, and I'm going to let you handle that one.
Damn. So he doesn't like me is what I'm hearing.
No, well, in fairness, he did say that he has not listened to the show.
Yeah, he probably he probably hasn't, but yeah. He's probably I can hear him now. Stu's just a bullshitter. I don't even want to put myself in that position. But you know, at the end of the day, he's never really credited the things that I do online or the way that I approach things on social media or the way that I say things. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt my feelings one bit. But at the end of the day, I would say that he would be a good voice to hear, whether we like it or not, whether he likes it or not. And I think that everybody should just tag him in it.
I agree with everything there. And, man, I do appreciate you kind of going on the whole thing about this and talk about other riders coming on and all that, because when you're talking about things, I mean, this is almost a 2-hour-long conversation at this point. There's things that get said that just kind of flow in a natural conversation, but one person might hear and take that to heart, and that's the only thing they take from this show. And that kind of happened to me a couple weeks ago with a certain rider, and I kind of talked about it a little bit on here. But from my perspective, there was a hole in the sport in doing this. There wasn't a way to hear from it. You saw someone's photo from the race, their little couple sentences about their race, and then 87 people tagged down below it that no one reads. And that was it. And just like you mentioned, there's press conferences at every other sport. There's media at every sport. Not only in every other sport, but in motocross and supercross. But there was not.
What rider did you piss off?
Oh,
I'm
man.
hung up on that.
So that was a completely different story. But it's come to the point where, like, one thing gets said on here, and it's not even, like, an opinion, or it's not even
I just
something.
pissed everybody in XC1 off. Who was it?
Zach Hayes.
Oh man, Zach! Jesus, he's a crybaby.
He even talked about it on the podium, from what I heard.
Oh, what a crybaby! Boo-hoo. Nah, Zach's a good buddy of mine. I'm just going to talk shit just because it sounds like he needs to be mad at me for the week.
So it all started when me and Big Tom were giving our predictions, and we got to XC3, and I said, I don't think anybody's going to be able to touch Brody Johnson. And that's what I thought at the time. At the time, I didn't even know Zach was racing XC3. I didn't know Zach was racing XC3 until Saturday night at Big Buck. But that's besides the point. But basically what I was getting at is, even, like, no matter what, something gets said on here and I get text from somebody. Whether it's a rider, XC1 guys, XC2 guy, everything, when you talk for this long, it's just talking about what is going on. Watch SportsCenter and see what they say about LeBron, and see what they say about Aaron Rodgers, see what they say about all those guys. It ain't half as bad as what any of us has ever said or going to say on here about other people, but it has never been done before. And so now when it's at the forefront and people are actually listening to it, like I said, there's always that one little thing that can be taken and harped on. And but nah, for you kind of going on that whole thing, I appreciate it. It's stuff like that keeps this thing going, because I think it's cool. I think it does have the potential to change the way things are covered and the way that off-road is covered.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. And Yeah, I mean, if people can't take constructive criticism at all, then good luck in the real world. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Good luck in the real world. If you can't take somebody saying something you don't want to hear on here, then good luck in the real world. That's all I've got to say. So, yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, it's a place that, what we're doing, I think needs to be done, and whether I'm involved or not, I think somebody needs to do it. I mean, there's room for two of these shows in our sport, and I think that any of it is good. I mean, at the end of the day, like that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I just feel like we are so small. We're so small and also small-minded in this sport. So to anything that we can do like this is going to do nothing but positive at the end of the day.
More eyeballs is the
Exactly.
name of the game. But, man, I can't thank you enough for your time. Almost went 2 hours on this one, so a lot to talk about. This is probably one of the best podcasts I've ever done in the time that I've been doing it. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know that you're going to have a lot of free time coming up. We got 2 GNCCs in a row. Anytime you want, man, the line is always open. Would love to have you on to kind of chat about what goes on during the races, but I know you also have a lot going on, so leaving it completely up to you. But like I said, man, thank you for your time, and thank you for chatting with us tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I'll call you next Thursday to see if you're driving me down. If so, we'll just do it on the way back.
Hey, man, let me know. I ain't scared of nothing. I'll put that thing in the wind. I'll feel like I'm driving Aerosmith and Justin Bieber at the same time down the road in that big old rig that you got.
It's fun to drive, especially when you're riding somebody's ass and lay on that horn.
Hell yeah. Dude, I'm in. Put me behind the wheel, coach.
Perfect. All right, well, sounds good. I'll keep everybody updated on my injury this week. I really haven't had anything to say any further until we go to this neurosurgeon, but we'll try to keep everybody posted. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more on the next show because we'll actually know when I'm coming back. So, yeah, thanks for having me, and we'll talk next Monday.
All right, man. Sounds good. Thanks again.